Hello and welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one season wonders and blunders that is indiscernible from if Emily were pranking me and trying to make me feel bad for being a white man who grew up in the 80s and 90s. And I do feel bad. I felt bad before this. I don't even necessarily feel worse because of this fucking show we are watching called Joe's Life. Hi, my name's Andrew.
Hi, I'm Emily.
Okay, so this episode is called The Invisible Man, and I was worried it was going to be an allusion to Ralph Ellison's The Invisible Man.
There were none. There were no allusions.
Not to Ralph Ellison, not to H.G. Wells, not to Claude Rains.
Nope.
This episode, spoiler, just brief summary, it has two plots. One is about wife Sandy being too tired to fuck and
Joe being mad about it.
Joe being mad about it, but Joe being very mad that she does not appreciate how fuckable he is. Subplot 2 is about young Joey, or no,
Paulie.
Being 12 years old and having a crush on his fetching algebra teacher. So it's all about how to best objectify your authority figure to demean her and still pass math. So It's like the Mark Zuckerberg story or something.
Yeah. That's I was surprised. So we start out the episode, if I'm not mistaken, with Amy and Paul in the kitchen. Paul is working on his homework. No, he's got a test that he had taken that he had gotten a B- on. Last time I checked,
D.
A D-. Okay, I was going to say, last time I checked, that was not a failing grade, but it's a D-. And he needs his parents to sign the test. So the teacher knows that he's seen it. So Joe is the one who would be signing the test because he's stay-at-home dad. He's got a night job. So he's now that mom is a busy temp worker, mom doesn't sign the tests anymore. They're having a discussion about it, and Paul is afraid. And I forget what Amy even wants. Amy wants something from dad too.
Amy wants an advance on her allowance.
Okay.
And so she thinks that this is going to somehow fuck up her getting her advance on her allowance. Like, it's got to be paced out right. The requests upon dad.
So Joe walks in, and I wrote down 5 o'clock shadow because like it looks like it's painted on. Like, it looks like a drag king, like just spotting on facial hair, blotting it on with a sponge. It does not look like it's actual growth. It's very weird to me. And the fact that this happens over a couple of days and the hair stays exactly the same is very weird to me. We didn't do our 3 things, but 5 o'clock shadow was mine. Okay. Was one of mine. I don't know that I have more than that because it's like, there's a lot, but It's all like themes. So I've got guilt. Are you
referring to your guilt at selecting this show?
Absolutely not. I feel no guilt about selecting this show.
Guess what's next? I decided as you were talking about the 5 o'clock shadow. You know what's next?
What's next?
Cop Rock.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's on Cop Rock, isn't he?
Exactly. Yeah, we're just going into the fucking eye of this hurricane. Yeah.
Nice. Great. My husband will be thrilled.
Okay. So you can... my thing is actually going to be actual laugh. And I actually laughed.
I had felony.
Felony?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many choices for what that could be. Force field of love. I mean, there's gonna be a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot in this
That's
episode.
the excuse. We have too many things. There's too many.
And
Starting with the love note on the fridge.
the love note on the fridge. Okay, so Joe comes in. I thought the 5 o'clock shadow was going to be like, I'm so busy, I don't even have time to shave. And my wife isn't paying attention to me because she's off with her career as a temp. Like, so I was kind of annoyed that that wasn't the case. But anyway, Amy is being all like, Dad, you look great. I love your 5 o'clock shadow. You don't look like you painted that on. And Paul is like, Dad, I love it too. I have a question for you. Can I have an advance on my allowance? And steals Amy's thunder, right? This pissed me off because he gave Paul the $5. And then when Amy asked for it, he didn't give her the $5. Why would you give one and not the other? Unless you just didn't have the cash.
Because your kids suck. And you have to be the one to placate your ego correctly. Did you actually never have a friend whose father was like this?
No.
That's cool. That's cool. I've had one. Yeah.
I had a lot of friends whose dads were worse in different ways, but
yeah,
not
no,
like
but
this.
just being petty, and yeah, no, it's a thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's
Rude.
realistic. It was a terrible scene, and it comes off as shockingly sexist.
Yeah.
But that's also what the show is: terrible and shockingly sexist.
So, where's your mother? And Amy says, "Oh, she already left for work, but she left you a love note on the fridge."
Mm-hmm.
What does that love note say, Andrew?
Exterminator 930 me. But Joe reads it like it's a sexy note.
Yes.
So but it's not like a love note. He's not doing like a love voice. He's not doing a cutesy love voice like, oh. He's doing a, ugh. Yeah. And it's weird to be doing it in front of your kids because it's not saying your mom loves me or we're like some cute couple together. It's, we want to fuck. Like, your life is just hearing us fuck. Isn't that weird? Because we only gave one of you Walkmen, because then we told the other ones you'd have to fight for it. Like, it's uncomfortable. And also, like, because this episode then turns into him being like, why doesn't my wife objectify me? Look at this hunk of man meat she's got waiting for her. I'm not fucking kidding. This is worse than the Mad About You episode.
I've never seen. I don't know that one.
The one where Helen Hunt's too busy at work because she's a fucking vice president. And
you told me about that. Yeah.
She doesn't care.
Yeah, you told me about that one. Yeah.
But yeah, so, this is worse. Anyway.
Yeah, this is worse because, well, a lot of reasons, but so he's like disappointed that his wife left him. And again, I thought that this was going to turn into, oh, she doesn't notice my beard and she doesn't like have time. I don't have time to shave even. Like, but then it turns out he's using the beard to try to get her attention. I guess she likes beards. I don't remember this conversation ever happening. But in every other episode we've watched, she has been hot to trot. And is it a character change? I don't know, for her to not be hot to trot, but I don't think it's unreasonable for a woman who's working 8 hours, even as a temp, to come home from work and not want to immediately go to the bone zone.
There's some very fucked up parts about this, like the subversion of the teacher's authority figure into sexual object is really fucked up. And then they lay into it. That's a fucked up one. But also what this show just is doing in general is saying it demeans a type of employment that a woman can have.
Mm-hmm.
It minimizes its contribution. And then it, villainizes her having any experience of it separate from her place as homemaker and mother and whatever, fuck bunny. Like, it's insidious. The show is like a fucking sociology dissertation, like, that they turned into a book. Like, just this fucking Joe's life. Thank you for making me watch this. Let's continue.
You're welcome.
With the forgery subplot, the C plot, as it were. Or Scotty Jean. Does he even have?
He doesn't really have much.
came into this episode. We forgot Scotty Jean
Yeah.
already. He came in because Joe had to clean him up because he spilled his breakfast on himself on the couch.
Yeah.
But that was all off screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So then Amy's gonna forge the signature for Paulie for the $5, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And I saw that coming. I mean, all of
Yeah.
the stuff is so obvious. But she said she's gonna help Paul. She signs Joe's name on something other than the test. I don't know exactly know what. He sees it and he's like, oh my God. And then she signs his test and she's like, give me the $5. So she gets what she wants. He gets what he wants, but he is immediately skeptical. So,
well, this is how it starts. The
yeah.
vortex of evil starts here.
Yes, the vortex of evil. So he is immediately skeptical. Now we're getting a side of Paulie that we haven't seen before because it turns out he's like a good student. He's a good kid.
I mean, there was an implication he was a science nerd.
Oh, right, because of the telescope.
Because of the telescope. But yeah, no, because the kids have never been in the show this much.
Yeah.
Like interacting in a way that was not a bicker bit. Like this is them presumably teaming up. It's not, because Amy disappears entirely.
Yeah.
But it's kind of Paulie's second big episode, and it's a doozy.
Yeah, nobody else has had an episode this big yet. The kids.
Amy sort of did at the mall, but then they took it away from her.
Yeah, and then with the boyfriend in the last episode, and they took that away from her, and then I guess Scotty's episode was the first one with the teacher.
Yeah,
but.
Whatever. And that was exciting in this. We got back to the school. Presumably, that's later on, but we actually got a different set for this show, which is always exciting. But first, we've got the opening credits. And then we cut to the scene where I actually laughed. Where did I write it down? Oh, right. Bluto. So, and that's because of Mimi Kennedy. Yes. So it's Barb and Joe in the kitchen finishing up a conversation about how Sandy doesn't want to fuck, basically. And Joe looks great. And why doesn't she want to fuck? And we've got my Union Square dance tonight.
Yes, my former union. So how did he get invited to this? I'm in a union. We don't have square dances.
You are not a Jersey boy. You are not a Jersey man. Very weird.
So he's no longer in the union, but he's still going to this dance. Maybe it's a fundraiser. Who knows? They don't really go into detail.
We think Peter Honorati is okay as far as how he votes. I don't know about Joe. I don't know about Joe Gennaro. I don't think Joe Gennaro's okay. Joe Gennaro's just dead from COVID at this point. It's fine. Okay. So, but this is where Mimi Kennedy says she likes beards. It makes a man look like he flosses with barbed wire, but still cried at Bambi's mom dying.
Yeah, I don't quite understand that.
Yeah, that's very weird. And bad. This episode, I think, is also the first one that has 2 credited female writers.
Oh.
So, yeah. Writers' room rules apply, of course, but their names are on this one. Oh, lucky them. But then Stan comes in and they talk about a beard and how Stan wanted one, but mom cut it off in the 6th grade because Stan's, an early bloomer.
Yeah.
And then Mimi Kennedy's like, I think it's so cute when you had a beard. You look like what's his face? And he's like, what did he say, Pavarotti or something?
Yeah, Pavarotti.
And she's like, what? No. The guy who fought Popeye all the time. And I'm like, Bluto! And I laughed. And then I was like, oh, Jesus, what did I just do? And I stopped. But for a second.
So it's funny and it's not problematic.
Right. I mean...
So good for her.
Thought of little Mimi Kennedy having a crush, like Mimi Kennedy, like 12-year-old Mimi Kennedy drug Bluto and shit. Like, it's a cute idea and it's funny and it explains her personality. But then the old man comes in and
Complains about his wife
complains about his wife
again. This
again.
guy, this
She
guy
doesn't
is
have an upper
insidious.
lip, is one of it, but then there's going to be more later because he says her name.
This guy
So,
is insidious. He is the problem with this show. I'm blaming him.
okay, I mean, if you think
Everything
about
he
it,
says is bad.
if you think about it, Joe and Stan grew up in this family restaurant that they inherited from their father, basically. Meaning old dude was there the whole time. Meaning he was their role model as they were growing up.
Yeah. Explains
And
everything.
then you throw in you throw in dad thinking that's an okay environment, but then you also throw in that dad was emotionally abusive as well. And this is a fucking generational horror story about a family. It's not a sitcom.
Yeah.
Wait, did I just describe the American sitcom? Oh, God. I can't wait for Cop Rock to be about how I was scared, so I had to kill him. Just every episode's a song about that. And then you're going to get to be able to fucking be mad at me. But for 4 more episodes, I can't even imagine what's coming. Okay. So then Joe again whines to Stan about how Sandy left without saying goodbye. Doesn't she understand that's not her place? It's less progressive than Mr. Mom.
Yeah.
What? It's less progressive than Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah.
Okay. But then, in something not funny, but not as bad, not problematic, Ray comes in and is like, hey, everybody, what do I get my lady for our 2-week anniversary?
You missed the part where the old man brings in balloons and a card for Ray.
That's right. That is
that's the
kickoff to this.
That's right. how he's introduced into this episode is he comes in with balloons, pink and red balloons, and Joe thinks that they're for him because Sandy left without saying goodbye, so this must be her apology.
I'm just going to say it. Emily edits the podcast if this gets too problematic. So Joe presumably thinks of Sandy as his property. Do you expect your property to apologize to you? I'm just that's really fucked up. This is how fucking deep the fucked up is.
It's fucked up because all she did was go to work.
Does
that require an apology?
Does it require an apology? Does it require sending a singing telegram to your workplace? The business you co-own that is the primary income of the household.
Yeah.
She needs then at her temp job where she is being worked because this is 1993 and there's no fucking internet.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a cell phone. She's not texting on her BlackBerry even. She's sitting being bored, miserable, probably sexually harassed. And
doing the most mundane tasks for people who do not appreciate her.
Right. And Joe is very upset at work and fixated on that she needs to send him a gift to make up for her misbehavior.
So he's disappointed when it is Ray's. And Ray comes in and he's all haughty. I loved it. He's got swagger. He's like, oh, my girl got me some balloons. It's our 1-week anniversary, which is nauseating, right? But it's hysterical to me that then it's for Ray. And because Ray's not, well, they haven't been together for a long time, but Ray's presumably an attentive person isn't taking this woman for granted. So it's funny to me that the whole episode is about Joe thinking he's being taken for granted when he's kind of taken his wife for granted the whole time.
But that's part of the marriage contract when he bought her from her family. What? Or wait, didn't he get money for what? I don't remember. Dowries always seem stupid. You pay somebody to marry your daughter?
2 head of cattle and
Yeah.
An old pickup truck. You
Okay.
get Mary Page
So,
Keller. She's
oh, wow.
oh.
Mary Page Keller. Poor Mary. There's just a certain generation where people have some experiences. You're like, maybe it's better that you don't realize.
Yeah.
Like, Molly Ringwald's, going through shit. Like, right? Like, maybe you don't want to go through that. You don't want to process Joe's life.
Yeah.
Okay. Ray also has this thing that will come back throughout the episode where he does a force field of love where he draws a heart around himself. It's
Right.
obnoxious, but also very funny because it upsets Stan and Joe, and fuck them,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
So
It's because
like,
they're bitching about relationships,
and
you
it actually
know?
they actually say the
Yeah.
line. They actually say, "You've only been with her a week. Wait till you're with her for 12 years,
Yeah.
man."
Yeah. And it's like, fuck you guys. And he does the force field of love thing. And they're like, oh, so gross. And I'm like, you deserve it. You deserve it.
Like, I don't even know these notes I have. There's like nagging you about lunch, and then
So Mary
shit,
Page
that
Keller comes
no,
in.
she comes in,
Yeah.
and Joe thinks he's getting some love because she's dressed hot in her working lady skirt.
Her pencil skirt and silk blouse.
I mean, hold on. This show does establish that every single woman you meet is for your visual um, gratification. So you are entitled to all of this input. And it's expected,
Yeah.
frankly. It's ABC, folks, America's broadcasting channel. Okay, so then she comes in for a sandwich, and it's her lunch. It's the lunch for the office.
For the office.
Now, we have had a little bit of story about her workplace, but very little, right? Like
Right.
Mr. Mom had a whole subplot about how old girl had a sexist boss who was putting the moves on her and she had to beat him up, or Michael Keaton beat him up, something, third act, whatever. This, Mary Page Keller doesn't need a work plot of her own.
She doesn't need a plot of her
little,
own.
she doesn't
No.
even need like a sexist boss plot, which we've had in, I don't know, 3 of the 4. Like every show we've watched has had a misunderstanding sexist boss plot. Like, meh. So she's just getting the sandwiches for work. She mentions this is her last day at this assignment, and she's going to give onions to somebody who is going to give her the shits, basically.
Yeah.
She's going to give food poisoning to the lady she doesn't like at her temp assignment. Hashtag Jersey. Like, whatever. It's shitty, but it's not. Okay, there's a women do hate each other thing in this too. That
Yeah, because it is a female boss that
Oh
she has that
God,
she doesn't
yes.
like.
So yeah, it does tie into the other
Yeah.
women should hate each other and fight for the attention of the alpha, who is Joe Gennaro with his beard. Okay, so but Joe talks about how much he loves her outfit.
Yeah.
And she's just like, whatever, dude, where are my fucking sandwiches?
You would think that after X number of years of being leered at by your disgusting, greasy husband, that you would just sort of be like, whatever, whatever, whatever. And that's what she kind of does.
Because she's busy. Because she's
busy.
picking shit up.
Because she is on the clock.
Yeah.
And
at a temp place.
And it's established that these people are, she says, all these people do is hound me for lunch. It's all they do. So this is a situation where she needs to be expedient. Two, her boss is very demanding. Whatever, doesn't like her boss, but needs to get this lunch to her. Preferably without onions, but Joe forgot to not put the onions on, which again is like, you're making lunch for your wife's office and you are not following the order?
It is 1993, Emily. They did not care about food safety until the internet. You've got to think about it like that, though. Like,
Jesus.
It's
completely ridiculous.
There was no Yelp. Nobody cared if you got food poisoning from Joe Gennaro's. Like,
it's ridiculous. So yeah, she's being dismissive of his of him harassing her.
He's just too busy. Like, boom, she's got to get this and go.
And Joe, don't you have a lunch rush going on right now? Like, why are you spending your time groping your wife in a kitchen and not making food for your customers? I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
Women are such a pain. We must hate each other, are my notes there. So then Ray comes in and is like,
Yes.
hey, Sandy, what's up? What's a good 1 week anniversary present?
Oh, yeah. This was funny
And
too, I thought.
she's like thinking about it. She's like, 50s, whatever, 60s, 30s, this, cheese.
Yeah.
And I'm actually like, I mean, yeah, kind of. You could do like a cheese, a nice little cheese picnic. You could
Little charcuterie board or something.
I
Yeah.
mean, you couldn't go too far. You couldn't do raw meats yet, but you could do some cheese. You could introduce them to some cheese. And Ray's response is, I don't want to rush things, Sandy. It was
Yeah.
very cute.
That was
And it's
that was
just
funny.
like, okay. And then Sandy gets the box of stuff to go, and Stan says, hey, it'd be a shame to get anything on that outfit because you look very hot, coworker's wife, who I just bonded with about my girlfriend, who I am in a force field of love with. I am now objectifying you and giving you the thumbs up from my penis.
Yes.
To which
You are
she
now
says,
officially in the spank bank, Sandy.
Bank Bank. What is that from?
I have no idea.
I think it's probably from Friends.
Oh,
Friends got away with some shit. Friends got away with some shit. Like, anyway, are you googling it to see where
I
it's
am.
from?
I
Okay,
am.
good. So I will talk about how. Oh yes. So Sandy's response is, "Well, thank you, Ray. That made my day."
Yeah.
And Joe is standing there looking. Hey, I liked it. Why didn't that make your day that you're getting my sign of approval?
What
Then
does
they
he say?
do,
He says, you made her day, but I just made her
I
a
made
sandwich or
I made
something.
her lunch.
Yeah.
But you're skipping ahead because then they have that thing where they miss kissing each other goodbye because they're in too much of a hurry.
So FYI, educational moment, the more you know, Spank Bank was first time it appeared in the media was 10 Things I Hate About You in 1999. The movie with
Fuck
what's
yeah.
her name and what's his
That's
name?
a great movie. Astra, great means in that thing, but it's a very good movie. We watched that
Yeah.
for Christmas.
Okay.
Also, if you haven't seen a Heath Ledger movie in a while, it's fucking rough. Like, especially that one. It's rough because it's 1999. I don't think there's anything like they address the more problematic gender. They address the problematic gender things. It's diverse, but while not particularly inclusive, and there's not really any queer kids in it, but it's not problematic. Like, it is a very, like, there's a reason it probably holds up as a girl power movie when some other things don't. So
Julia Stiles has something about her that I wouldn't cross her. Like, I mean, I don't know if she's been in much recently, but she seems like the type of person who would be like, no, I demand that you pay me as much as you're paying my male co-star. Like, she seems like, do not fuck with her. I love her.
Yeah. She's one of the ones I'm very sad her career did not.
Yeah.
For reasons that we should probably not talk about because she ended up working at Miramax, didn't she? Anyway.
Oh, boy.
What an upper. Let's return to married 15 years. Oh, but it's never been like this before.
Yes. So, premise of the show, Sandy got a job. She is a working mother now. And this comes around at the end when she's talking to, is it Joe or is it Stan? I don't know, about like, I work all day, which she hadn't been up until this point.
Stan.
I work all day. I come home. The kids are demanding my attention. Joe is demanding my attention. All I want to do is like nothing. And anyway, so I'm kind of justifying this. It hasn't been like that because she hadn't been working for very long. And so she had time to like get herself in order and then, be down to pound when he comes home. And now she's not because she's fucking working. Get over it. Jesus Christ. Sorry.
So then Ray tries telling him to not take each other for granted or something. And Joe says, hey, do me a favor. Don't tell me nothing until you know what it's like. And Ray says, force field of love, and walks away.
Mm-hmm.
Then the old man says something about his wife sucks. I didn't.
Oh, it was, I've been married for 52 years or whatever. My wife's never taken me for granted, even though I beg her to. And it's like, ugh, this is the Borscht Belt. Like, come on, buddy. Like, these are that joke's so old, it's an antique. Like, damn, he's so bad.
Okay, so then Joe goes and talks to Stan some more, and they set up that Stan's gonna take the kids so Joe and Sandy can fuck.
Yeah.
And so we cut to Amy and Paulie. Now, mind you, we really haven't even found the fucking plot yet. It's another one of those episodes of the show.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we cut the whole episode.
Okay, so then Paulie got away with it. He's worried they're going to get caught, though. And how are they going to get caught? Amy says, and Paulie's like, well, I'll tell them. I'll break down and tell them. And then we'll get sent to the military school. And then there was some weird guy, or I'll end up the weird guy at the post office. And then Amy's says, don't forget you drag me down too, so you got to keep your mouth shut. But then Scotty Jean comes in, and they're like, oh no, Scotty Jean knows our scheme.
Because they use the word forgery, and he said, what's a forgery? Forgery's a felony, bitch. I mean, I know in these instances, it's not like those kids are going to go to jail for, signing their report card with their parents' name, but it seems like something in the 90s and in the 80s that was like everyone talked about forging signatures. Ugh, it was like the ultimate criminal offense is you can get away with anything if you learn how to forge somebody's signature.
Well, yeah, because you could cash checks.
Yeah. It's very strange that they're felons.
Yeah, it is. Also, it's a setup for a scene where Scotty Jean asks his parents what forgery is.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't.
This is the second or third time in the episode where there's been something like, well, this is an obvious setup.
It ends up being a sight gag that's kind of funny.
It does, and but it also helps set up what the next sort of plot is, which is not okay. So then Leo's going to come over and get the kids, but he's already there in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So then we get our contribution from convicted rapist Danny Masterson.
His sentencing hearing got pushed back to September. So alas, we will not be able to discuss it on the podcast where we have an episode with him on it. But it's because the August 4th date, they expect there to be victim impact statements from victims who were not represented in the court case. So at least 4 other women they think are going to show up who had nothing to do with the court case to talk about what a bad person Danny Masterson is. So anyway, sorry about that. That's our Danny Masterson moment here on Onesies.
Summer. I hope Ashton Kutcher just doesn't know what to say. Ashton Kutcher's probably telling him to break him.
There was some joke on a YouTube channel that he was going to show up and make a victim impact statement too, because that 70s show couldn't get any streaming contracts, and so he's losing money.
That's fucking terrible, but it's also the 100% emoji. Okay. So where the fuck are we? So he's in the kitchen. Joe talks to him about how he's gonna fuck Aunt Sandy tonight.
Yeah. And Danny's like, way to go, bro. I would too. Take some pictures, send them to me, brother. I want to see your tits, bro.
Hold on. That's that's the sequel series. Okay, that's when Sandy has enough, is when she finds out in like 15 years, when all the kids are grown up and gone away. Polly is estranged. Amy's unhappy in her marriage to a Jersey bro. And Scotty Jean is like, he either still lives at home or I think one of the boys has to be gay just to make things weird for Joe. I think so. Anyway, Sandy finds out that Joe would send Leo pictures of her naked when he got his first cell phone or something.
Yeah.
That's what divorces them. And it's an HBO prestige series. It's the fucking staircase or whatever, but
But it's Mary
just
Page
about
Keller
yeah,
just living her best life as a single
with
40.
Mimi Kennedy because Stan's dead and like
They could be like
they're
roommates or something, and they're just living their best middle-aged
yeah,
lives. That would
and
be
like
great.
Mary Page Keller can start the season with some one silver fox and move on to another one. It'll be fine.
I'm
It'll be
casting
great.
this. I'm
All
casting this
right.
in my brain. Okay.
There you go. Well,
Lee Pace.
unfortunately,
It's prestige TV. Lee Pace can show up. He's not a silver fox, but who wouldn't?
yes, Emily, would you like to go into this a little bit more? Who
My
and
husband
what,
has no
Emily?
idea who it is. I was like, "Oh, let me read you this headline about Lee Pace." He's like, "Who the fuck is Lee Pace?" And I was like, "He's six
Wow.
foot five. He's 6'5".
Wow.
Oh shit! I
Okay.
just said his name. Fuck.
Lee
Edit.
Pace. Lee Pace. All right. So my other note for this scene was, is Leo drinking a beer?
That's what it looked like to me, and that's what I thought Joe was going to confront him
Yeah.
about. Joe kind of comes in, sees Leo sitting at the table, and looks at him like, "What are you doing?" And I thought it was because he had a beer in his hand.
Yes.
But it was actually like, "Whoa, you forget how to knock?" or something like that.
Yeah.
He just walked in to the house. So,
Cool. So then Joe's talking to Leo about how he's making veal for um Mary Page Keller, and Leo calls it the meat of love. And
ugh,
it
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's gross.
so what's also very weird about that is I had never thought about veal as a delicacy. I thought about it as the thing that makes even carnivore humans feel guilty.
Yeah.
Like, and like I don't see veal on a lot of new menus. Like, I think that's a guilt that people aren't willing to like confront anymore. Like, even if they do eat meat.
Yeah.
So anyway, but certainly not the meat of love. And I mean, that's some of the thing about this is like we talk a lot about shit about Danny Masterson, but really fuck him. But not but fuck him and fuck him. But it's serious. And there are a lot of things in here that are just like these proto creep moments.
Yeah.
It's just like this environment. And it's this very weird microcosm because this was not a hit show. This
No.
is not where Danny Masterson took off. This is also not that 70s show. I didn't like that 70s show, but I
Yeah.
can't imagine it's this problematic. Or if there are these elements, they're presented in a, sarcastic manner.
And they're presented with like some of the time like a female rebuttal. Like
Okay.
there are more women in that 70s show who are around and being like, "That's bullshit," and calling them out on it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, this is like some of the stuff in this is just like, wow,
Yeah.
like it is a fucking sociology dissertation. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot at once, and all of it's very casual and very normal. And that's what makes it even like, oh, like we're not even there yet, folks. We're not even there to when Emily's going to walk you through the end title sequence, the end credits sequence, because that's her cross.
I storyboarded it. No, I'm kidding. I didn't.
We can talk about that episode of Toast on Hollywood. I'll get you on tape talking about that. Okay. So.
Oh, that's a one season show.
Yes, it is. It's also a sequel to another show.
Huh.
We can talk about it. We're going to be talking about it because I'm going to get you on the record because I've been wanting to talk about it and we've never talked about it, or we have and I've forgotten. But it'll be good content. It's for the pod, Emily.
I
Okay,
know.
we've got to get there. We're almost there actually.
Yeah. Again,
Okay.
the plot is so it's like sprinkled into all of these scenes, and then you finally get to it, and it's like, gee, it's a lot of work.
We're still
I know it's a lot of work.
Still, everybody. Okay, here we go. Scotty Jean, Paulie carries Scotty Jean out behind Joe.
Amy distracts Joe.
Yes.
Do I have something in my eye? And there's this hilarious scene where Paul has got Scott, got his hand over his mouth, running out the back door, carrying him. I thought it was hilarious, but also, why didn't you just go through the front door? I guess it would have eliminated this hilarious sight gag. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Better than Morton and Hayes for the most part.
Better than Morton.
There we go. Rob Reiner. We can do that one season Faulty Towers revival that I told somebody about who just didn't know what I was talking about.
You told me about it and I had no idea.
I told you about it, but you know the people involved. Yeah. I told somebody young about it. They were just like staring at me in there, and I was like, so it's a really dumb idea and it's going to ruin these people that you've never heard of's legacies. But okay.
I think John Cleese is doing a pretty damn good job about ruining his own legacy. Doesn't need another fucking show.
Rob Reiner is the one who it's going to hurt the most because anyway, like he needs validation so much. He's not going to get it for that. Like, okay. So New York Times is going to love it. So then Sandy finally, okay. So no. Joe says to Amy, you think you distracted me from your brother getting carried out of here?
Yeah.
Is it life-threatening? I want to fuck your mom. I've got veal. We're going to eat veal while we fuck. Yeah. And Amy's like, no, Dad, it's not life-threatening. It's just a felony. And he's like, bang, get out of here with your drunk-ass cousin driving.
Yeah.
Sandy gets home. Oh, he's singing to her. They're going to do absolutely nothing. The kids are gone. It's going to be great. Goes upstairs to get into something comfy. We didn't talk about Joe's outfit. He's in some tight pants and he's got a pink, purple, whatever that fucking color is, shirt, and it's unbuttoned. He's looking.
Does he have a vest on, or is it a jacket or something? Like something kind of. Oh, it's a cardigan. It was a cardigan.
Oh God!
And it's like it's weird.
Well, yeah,
it's weird.
She likes fashion.
It's the 90s.
She dresses him. She talks at some point about how she bought those clothes and he wore them for her. Anyway, she comes downstairs in a sweatsuit, plops down on the couch, puts a pillow on him, snuggles in, and is like, "What's up, sucker? Lentil is on." Or Yentl is on. And it's just starting. Because Jersey women were down with Babs. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
And she's probably down for what's his name, because doesn't he get topless in that? Oof.
Mandy? Is Mandy in that?
Mandy's in that.
Okay.
There's like a whole babe scene with him, and he's like swimming, and he comes out of the water.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm getting things because there's that. I think I forgot that it was about the temptation of man, and that I thought it was just a convent but Jewish musical. But
she's pretending to be a man to study, and she meets Mandy Patinkin, and he's a fucking babe, and she can't reveal the fact that she's not a man.
It's not a musical.
I don't think so. She might sing in it, but I don't think it's a musical. It's not like Fiddler.
The hills are alive with the sound of Mandy Patinkin's pubes drying. Okay, well, I need to see Yentl. Wow.
You keep getting it wrong.
I keep getting it wrong. It's problematic and sexist and ingrained in me since 1983. I'm sorry, folks. But yes, they're going to watch Yentl. She's thrilled. Joe is miserable.
Yes. Because all he wants to do is fuck his hot wife. Duh.
Duh. Why would she think he'd want to get rid of the kids? So then in the morning, Sandy's getting ready, and Stan comes over to ask if Joe wants to go to the restaurant supply place together, implying that, they have a mutual interest in their co-business, which is kind of close to a subplot or
Yeah.
a running subplot for this
Yeah.
show. And Sandy's like, no, Joe already went to the fish market.
Yeah.
So, okay.
That's perfectly reasonable. However, we've never heard of them serving fish at their restaurant.
Never at all. Not a lot of Italian fish dishes that I can think of off the top of my head. They've got to be, though. I mean,
There are a lot of seafood dishes.
There's
Maybe
seafood. Maybe the fish market's got seafood.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Stan's like, oh, that's a bummer. Well, hope you had a nice time fucking last night. And she's like, a nice time fucking? What are you talking about? I watched Yentl. Huh? I watched Yentl, rubbed one out to Mandy Patinkin coming out in the golden light.
And then passed out.
And Joe was great. He he provided some support to my shoulder, and then he let me fall asleep.
Yeah. And he and presumably didn't molest me while I was sleeping.
Because there's at least that for Joe.
Yes.
There is a limit. Oh, God, which we have 4 episodes left. He might talk about that limit. So then Stan is just sitting there like, this is awkward. I wouldn't have mentioned you and him fucking. And she's like, Stan, what's
he does on? He does this kind of goofy, almost funny thing where he starts like backing away from her slowly, like, I'm gonna get out of here. I fucked up. I'm gonna have to have a conversation with a woman who's not my wife.
Mother wouldn't like that.
Yep.
This is every once in a while in this show, I'm like, wait, is George DeCenzo about to be good? No, but it's a no but. He almost, you can see with better direction, but I think really it would be, he needs like a good comedy coach, to get some of his timing better. But this was kind of one of those moments. And then he's like, this is none of my business. You need to keep this between you and Barb. Waka, waka, waka. Sister-in-laws can talk about dick. And then Sandy goes, oh, wait a second. You said, when you came in and said, did I like fucking Joe last night? You meant I was supposed to be fucking Joe, not falling asleep because I was tired after my work week.
Oh, shit. I didn't take everybody else's desires into consideration before I passed out asleep because I was tired from work. Oh no, I thought about myself instead of everybody else, which is what I'm sick of doing and why I'm so tired. Oh no.
I've just been so tired and tense, and I just needed some peace and quiet. Oh, wait a second. I hate it when he uses that excuse on me. To which then Stan goes, do I need to say anything? And she goes, no, because I just realized that I've been a bad wife. Thanks, Stan. You did good. And then it's time for the plot. We cut to the school where Joe is talking.
Really quickly, timeline freaked me out because the scene we just cut from, he was at the fish market and now he's at the school. And we don't know what time it is.
We don't know what time it is. Yeah. There is no scene where he gets the call that he needs to come to school because this show sucks.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we'll just explain it in exposition. We've got this. They're really good at this type of acting. And they're not. No. And you're bad at writing it. Yeah. Oh, my God. Okay. They're at the school. Joe is talking to the teacher, who at some point I realized was wearing a plaid schoolgirl skirt, but I did not notice it for a while.
I didn't notice it at all.
Okay. So it starts, they're talking about the paper. He's like, this is my signature, but I've never seen it before. This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then I think the teacher's sitting at this point.
She's sitting behind her desk, I think.
Yes. And then Joe's like, and neither does a D minus. Like, why are you teaching my son wrong? You're very bad at your job, clearly. And she's like, well, this just doesn't make any sense because he does great on his homework, but not on the tests. And then she stands up and says, have you been doing Paul's homework for him? And Joe's like, no, I'm a dummy. Oh, I know how to cook.
But it's a little bit flirty too, because he says, oh, I'm flattered that you think I could. I dropped out of high school. No, he didn't. I don't know.
He didn't, because he was a fucking airline engineer.
Oh, that's right.
You made machines of mass destruction. Like,
I mean, he could have just worked in a factory too. Like,
I think he did, and then he worked his way into management. Like, he worked on the line, and then he worked his way.
So I don't think he was he didn't need an engineering degree, but
yeah. So it's just, if this were, he's basically Michael Keaton in Gung Ho.
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm just excited because I was going to make a joke about this being like a Michael Keaton movie, but it's already like Mr. Mom.
It is.
So it's just like a combination of Michael Keaton characters put together. And the cut episode is the Batman one. Okay. Anyway, or it's the Beetlejuice one. Anyway, so then she gets up and she's like, well, yeah, he's always does really well on the homework, but he always just seems so distracted here.
And I've talked to his other teachers and he does well in their class. I just wonder what it is.
And she's now shimmying in her sweater.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe's like, oh, shimmy, shimmy. Okay, so Joe goes, well, I was 12 once. And I'm like, 12? That's 19. I was 1990 when I was 12. 12, that's like sixth grade? Sixth grade. I'll have a little talk with him. And so
I'm wondering if Joe knows what's going on already.
He does. No, he does.
Because when they get home, he seems surprised. Not surprised. Paul has to tell him what's going on.
See, here's the thing. You've noticed that Joe was actively flirting with the teacher.
I did.
Yes. What the show is saying is that's a natural response for a man, and it's totally to be expected, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the way women exploit men. And sometimes young men don't understand that when their female authority figures are making sexual advances at their married father, it's not something that the boy should feel uncomfortable about or feel like dad is maybe betraying mom. It's more about how
she's bad. She's a bad woman.
So, look up her nose. Oh, we're spoiling it. Okay. So then where's the Amy did it?
So Joe's about to leave.
Yeah.
And opens the door to see Paulie standing outside the door. Was he listening? Was he going to go into the classroom anyway? I don't know. Never explored. So Paulie comes in and witnesses the dad and the teacher chatting.
Nope, we missed it. This is what my note meant. Joe opens the door. Paulie's standing there and he's just like, Amy did it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's how the forgery thing gets solved.
Yeah.
That's writing. Sorry, please continue.
So then Paulie comes in and witnesses dad and the teacher chatting. They don't really, they do try to get to the bottom of what's happening, but they set him down and she's whispering sweet nothings into his ear, kind of like, it's okay to talk to us, blah, 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 blah. It reminded me of the Leslie Mann episode of Freaks and Geeks.
Nice. Yeah.
But it's not that extensive because it's only a 22-minute show. And they can't get anything out of him. So they take him home. Joe takes him home. And am I missing something?
Yes.
What?
The goodbye. The teacher compliments his beard.
Oh, right. Yes.
And then he says, she's like, most of the time I don't like beard. And he's like, that's funny because most of the time I don't like teachers. To which my note was, ha, fucking. So
a couple of things. I saw that extra flirty kind of thing, but to me it read more like sitcom. And I think like the whole like, I don't like teachers thing could have gotten a bigger laugh from the laugh track, and it
There was
wouldn't
a
have been as creepy, I think.
there was a lot of weird laughing in this.
Yeah.
Like the laugh track was, there was a guy on there who was just fucking wild. Like he was like, this is for my sizzle reel. I will laugh at your sitcom.
He is the demographic for the show.
Yes.
One guy.
Oh. Yeah, so no, but I think in this scene, Paulie, this is what Paulie really notices.
Yeah.
Is that this is what he sees in this. And this is like a serious thing, right? Like 30 something probably had 4 episodes about what happens when the kids see their dad flirting with a teacher or something, right? Like
Yeah.
this is a, pretty good trope that you did until you were just like, oh, you know how you don't have to deal with making that having that conversation, you just make the kids older.
Yeah.
So and then and then you get to kill off characters, and it's great. You just make them older. So then they get home, but first Sandy is getting ready in her frilly little business.
So it's not frilly. She's fully covered. She's got like black leggings on.
She's got black leggings
and
on.
A lacy sort of blouse that's long.
Frilly. It's a long,
frilly.
It's fully covered.
Yes.
But there are a lot of like layers.
She's put in an effort. Yeah.
She's put in an effort.
And she's wearing little shoes. She looks cute. She looks cute. She's not sexing it up. She's not like, yeah.
Yeah. She's not going too far, but this is the type of thing Leo and his friends reserve for the spank bank. Like, okay. So then, let's see. They come home. So yes, she's getting all set up. She checks herself in the mirror, blah, blah, blah. They come home, opening the door. She's like, hi, Joe. And he's like, just a second. And he goes to talk. He brings in, or wait, I've got the silent treatment. So they're talking about the silent treatment and the math teacher. Oh, yes, because definitely little kids in the room. Paulie's in the room.
Yeah.
Paulie's been giving me the silent treatment the whole way home.
Yeah.
We were just in with his math teacher. So now this is like an after school assignment. Like, the timeline of this day makes no sense. Why hasn't Joe been to fucking work today?
Yeah.
Okay. So
they sit Paulie down and try to talk to him, right?
Yes. And
about
like,
what's going on. And Paulie unleashes on Joe.
Yes. You let her drool all over you, Dad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where's the reaction shot from Mary Page Keller? There's never a reaction shot from Mary Page Keller.
No, but she does say, like, what is he talking about? Drooling on you.
Ooh, I love your beard. She practically jumped you.
Yeah.
And then Joe's like, well, yes, she did. Or no, that's Paulie going, yes. Joe's like, no, she didn't. And Sandy's like, wait, you have a beard? And she like looks at him and notices it for the first time.
Yeah.
And then Paulie says, she's going to drag you down to the cots in the nurse's office. And Joe's like, hey, what can I do? And then the conversation of whether or not Joe is flirting with Paulie's teacher, a person that he should be treating with respect as well.
Yes.
Instead, Joe's like, well, Paulie's got his hots for his teacher. Oh, gosh, Dad. What are we going to do about this? And then Joe's like, look.
Does Mary Page Keller at any point excuse herself from this conversation? Because I know that she's involved in the first part because she questions it. And then
do they go upstairs?
When Joe is giving him advice on how to manage, she's not there. So I don't know.
Oh, no. Cots in the nurse's office is the last thing Paulie says before he goes upstairs.
Okay.
And then Joe gives Mary Page Keller a shrug and we cut. Because, she's going to say no to this? Boom. I'm like Bruce Springsteen on TV. Just don't ask me to sing. So this is when we then cut to Paulie sitting alone in his room, sad.
Yeah.
Joe coming in and going, hey, you got the hots for the teacher. You're normal. You're at the age where you need to learn how to properly objectify women.
Your body is doing strange things or something. And it's like, Is this, I mean, I get it that it's television, but this is not a model for how to talk to your young children of any age about going through changes, going through puberty, being attracted to people. Like, this is not how you do it. Your body's going through changes. Vague. Of course you're acting like this. Too much. Or too little.
Dad, I can't do algebra when I look at her. How can I get through it?
How about you look at your paper instead of looking at your teacher?
How about we acknowledge that people have a personal, we respect people's personal space and dignities. Like,
how about we respect the fact that everybody has body parts? Yes. And body parts are body parts. And I don't know why he didn't give him the advice to just like think about her sitting on the toilet.
Because
maybe it would trigger some.
Yes, that's right.
Oh God.
Just picture her wearing a, rabbit suit, Polly. Like, no, this is not going to go right.
Sorry. That's bad advice too. I'm not a parent, folks.
Picture her wearing shoes, Paul. Picture her barefoot. Oh, that's silly. Cut that part out. Wookie Feet. WookieFeet.com. A website of onesies for 14 more days. I got to decide if we're keeping Wookie Feet. Okay, so yes. So then Joe sits down and gives him some advice. Like, I was 12 once, man. Like, I fucked my first teacher when I was 14. Come on. Your Uncle Stan introduced us. They were dating. It was fine. It's your sister-in-law. It's your auntie, Barb. So then he's like, here, there are tricks for everything, man. And Polly's like, dude, the last time you gave me a trick, it was to picture everybody in their underwear, and that's not going to work this time, Dad.
Yeah.
Okay, Polly. Well, the next time she's leaning over you and you're feeling distracted, you look right up her nose. You think them nostrils are sexy? They're not. What if she's got a hanger? That'll get you to Harvard.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing for our sequel series.
It's
Paul Gennaro, Dr. Paul Gennaro, PhD, Harvard special study. Okay. Then they talk about the forgery business, and Joe's like, dude, don't worry about it. Your sister's in so much more trouble. Yeah. And like, I'm not going to tell her to look up her male teacher's nose if she's got the fucking hots for him.
Yeah.
Like, because there's also a problem of the teacher should not be rubbing her tits on Paul. Like,
well, yeah.
Like, there's some things here.
She's not rubbing her tits
She's not rubbing her tits on anybody, but there is this implication that Paul says, I can't concentrate when I ogle her standing at the board. And we see this in the end credit sequence that Emily's going to say. But the way Joe describes it is if she's leaning over you.
Yeah.
You can look up her nostrils.
Well, and that ties into the end credit sequence too. So pay attention to that little detail because he does not. She's not leaning to.
She's not leaning.
Yeah.
He's using it as mom bringing in a plate of cookies.
Yeah. This is definitely victim blaming here.
Yeah.
This is definitely
doubly. It's every angle's fucked. Yeah. And it's like this. We looked up the credit or the guest star last week and we don't recognize her name. Yeah, that's because she watched this fucking scene, this episode, and looked at her friends and was like, I think I quit.
Yep, I think I'm done.
So then Amy's in way more trouble than you are. Polly's like, that helps. Fuck her. Girls like Eve tempting me with her forgery skills. Joe goes downstairs. This is where Sandy's really like stretched out on the fireplace.
Yeah.
And Joe's like, boom, I know where your Victoria's Secret catalogs are going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, huh? I'm home early, Joey.
Yeah.
After what happened last night, I'm just so sorry. And Joe's like, what happened? Nothing happened. And she's like, Joe, I took you a little for granted. And he's like, oh, I forgive you.
We've got some business to take care of upstairs.
No, but there's
also, is there more? Sorry.
You're skipping his butt being in canon.
Oh, right. They have this whole scene where she turns around and describes everything that he's currently wearing,
Mm-hmm.
and then asks him to do the same thing, and he can't do it, but he describes what she was wearing when they first met.
Yes.
Which is kind of sweet. And deservedly, he gets a little smooch for that. And then, yeah.
But that starts with she apologizes for not giving him sex enough. And he's like, I'll forgive you since we're going to have sex now. And she's like, okay, but let's talk about this little algebra tootsie. And then also she says, you need to shave your beard. She gets to forgive Joe now a little bit, and then they mention the cute butt and they do that scene. So
Yeah.
I've been saying since the pilot that they have been trying to sell Peter Honorati as having a cute little short man butt, and
you have
it's part of the universe of this show.
Yes.
So then yes, they're like, oh, it's time for that unfinished business. But I'm going to be meeting with the teacher next time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, I bet I know what they're going to do. They're going to turn to the stairs and yell, Amy.
It's all so telegraphed. I mean, it's just so the writing is so bad.
That's why you can't have women write sitcoms. Am I right? Jerry Lewis. Bada bing. You like Jerry Lewis more than I do.
Do I?
Do you actively hate him?
I don't actively hate him.
I actively hate him.
I mean, he was a bastard. I don't like his movies, but
I actively think they are bad.
I can't wait till the day the clown cried comes out. We've only got 1 more year, right? 2 more years.
Isn't that going to be on HBO Max though? Like that's not going to exist by then. Come on. Okay, so that is the end of the episode, except for the epilogue that we are going to do. But we're going to prepare for this with a little talk of Toast of Hollywood and its episode that had an homage basically to, Orson Welles.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The black and white sequence.
I don't remember.
They kidnap him.
It's, Toast of Tinseltown. Okay.
Toast of Tinseltown. Whatever.
I didn't really like it.
Not even the stylistic choice.
No, I didn't like the series.
Well, that's fine. I mean, that was a terrible.
So I watched it once and I barely think about it now.
Okay. I was very impressed with that sequence.
I'll have to rewatch it because
it is
my love for Matt Berry.
I do, and also it would be a good punishment series given the guest star. It would be a very good punishment series. And you actually came up with it, so zing. It's not on me. I'll be fucking paying.
We'll lose all of our fucking listeners because I hate 2 of the most popular comedians who are guest stars on this show because all I'm going to do is shit on them.
What's hilarious is my entire sound setup clicked off when you said that. So it'll sound like you did a really rough cut, like you cut their names out. Okay. So it's okay that we make fun of Desi Arnaz Jr., but you don't want to make fun of
the people that I hate, people that I actively hate and resent every time I see them in something.
Haven't we watched something that we actively hated and resented the people in it? I mean, besides Danny Master. I mean,
James Franco.
I don't resent Danny Master. I mean, I resent his existence, but I do actively hate him. Yeah, James Franco, that was rough. That was a lot of fun. Who knew? Who knew?
And it got worse after we watched it, didn't it? Didn't it get worse? Like, it was bad and then it got worse? All the stuff with the acting school?
Yeah, I don't think I think did we start it when Disaster, because I think wasn't Disaster Artist supposed to be his breakthrough, and then the acting school stuff sort of all happened at the same time, and it was just like, and then there's like the Jonah Hill thing now is just like growing, and I'm just like, but I saw there was a link in the article, I think on CNN, to when you mentioned on an earlier podcast just this sort of unacknowledged rampant sexism and sort of normalized misogyny, objectification of the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
They link to this article that like lays it all out, like goes through Britney Spears, goes through the tabloids at that age, and all this shit, and just goes through it all. So that was a good article to link to. It's a shame that Jonah Hill's a piece of shit.
I've never really been a fan,
It's
so
not a surprise.
it doesn't impact me a whole awful lot.
It's not a yeah, and he sucked for 13 years. Like your peak is doing a Seth Rogen impression in your first movie. Okay, so but now with all of that said, Emily is going to walk us through the end credit sequence.
So we watched some commercials and we re-enter our scene with a POV shot as if we're Paul, which confused me because it had a little dream sequence kind of thing going on, it seemed like, where the teacher is sitting at the desk. Oh, Paul, you're doing so well in class. Oh, I'm so proud of you. And she's got the soft-spoken thing, which she had anyway, but it made it seem like some sort of like sick teenager fantasy.
So I'm going to pause.
Okay.
And add this context. During this time period, there were commercials for adding the Playboy channel to your cable.
Yeah.
That would have gone off ABC once, what's it called? Once Disney bought it. And eventually you wouldn't, and maybe there were time things, but that was a trope. So your sexy seductive school teacher telling you to call and subscribe to something was a TV trope. And here it is at the end of a sitcom about not a teenager, about a tween, about a 12-year-old.
He's a 12, yeah.
Okay.
And she's complimenting him. She's proud of him for getting his grades back up. I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. And as she's doing all of this, the actress gets up from the table and kind of slowly walks around her desk and comes and stands in front of him. As this is happening, the camera, the POV of Paul is, I don't want to say zooming in, but it is scanning this woman's body up to the chest. You never see, like you see her chin.
You never see her face after
you see her
point.
chin, but you see her torso, i.e. her breasts, and you see like enough that you know she's wearing a relatively short skirt above the knee. It's not a mini skirt, but it is a short skirt. And he's just, the implication is that he's just scanning up and down. And this is what had been distracting him from being able to be successful on a test, is this woman's body, these body parts that she has. And then the punchline is when the camera goes up and does an actual zoom in on her nose. Now, again, going back to the thing where Joe is saying, when she leans over your desk, look up her nose. She is neither leaning, he is not looking up her nose. Because why? She's not leaning. She's not close enough to him that he can look up her nose and catch a hair or a bogey or whatever. He is just staring at her nose. It was so disturbing. I don't know at what point I realized that that's what this was and it wasn't the weird fantasy. I'm glad it wasn't the weird fantasy, but the fact that I even went there is fucking disturbing. Fucking disturbing. And then the end. Like, the end. It was really fucked.
Yeah.
It was real fucked.
Is it because this episode was already like, oh, it's like that episode of Dracula the series where they're like, yeah, you should. It's weird that, teachers don't fuck their 12-year-old male students. They really should when you think about it. That was an episode of Dracula the series. Yeah. It was already like, we already had that. I already had that thought. Then I got to the end and I was like, oh, wow, this is the most fucked thing we've ever watched
Yep,
by far.
by far. All in the name of comedy in 1993 on ABC.
1993.
Yeah.
This is America's
And
broadcasting network.
I think if we dug around, we could find more scenes like this.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah, it was nuts. I was pretty surprised by how gross that was.
Why do you make me watch these shows, Emily? Why do you pick these shows? Well, that's what the scary part is. I know you don't do it on purpose because it's not like there's anybody out there taking ownership of this. Like, who's gonna be like touting this show? Tucker Carlson? Like, what? No.
Well, the reason I picked this is because I think it is, well, maybe unknowingly, but this type of show is, I think, the essence of our podcast, right? Watching terrible television that somehow got a pilot and got produced and put on television. Like, it's shows like this, shows like Cop Rock, which is, I think, more notorious. It's like, how does this keep happening? How does it keep happening? I was watching some true crime thing, and this woman was a producer for television, and she was like, "Oh, I just work on instinct." And it's like, okay, how does your instinct tell you that Peter Onorati needs a TV show about being Mr. Mom? Like, what is your instinct? Like, how fucked is your instinct? What else have you done? Like, like what other terrible programs are you responsible for? So to me, this is like the essence of the podcast.
Oh, that would be an amazing...
Chess Game was fantastic. It had a lot of problems, but that's a mini series. And I know the show that I am picking, my next choice, is a mini series as well. But, I think you're right in that we need to change it up a little bit and have something positive to say. And maybe something that feeds our soul a little bit more.
Oh, it won't be Cop Rock. We just got to make it through that. Oh, well, then the sad part is they tried doing Cop Rock cut with the musical numbers cut out. Yeah, they like tried turning it into like a 30-minute sitcom slot cop show without the musical numbers. I remember that.
I don't know what America's problem is with translating like something campy and musical into something good, like on television. So like did you ever watch Blackpool?
Yeah.
I love that show.
Yeah.
And it's got that same, not the same as Cop Rock, but it's got these musical interludes that are funny, and it's campy, and it's I don't know, it breaks up the seriousness of the show. It's really good. And they tried to do it with Viva Laughlin, with your boy, what's his name? And it apparently, I never watched it, was a flop. But
one episode, right?
Yeah, but your guy is a musical guy. What's his name?
Hugh Jackman.
He's a musical guy, so he can sing, he can dance, he can do all the stuff that needed to be done. But for some reason, either, and again, I didn't watch it, it was badly done, or America just doesn't have that same sensibility. Viva Blackpool was only one season, but that's the nature of UK television too.
Right.
So, like, I don't understand. Like, I don't know if it was successful or not in the UK, if people liked it, if it was acclaimed. That's where I met David Tennant.
Oh, and he fucking rocks.
He's so cute.
You saw he was in the news this week?
No.
You didn't see Graham went after him?
No.
What?
No.
David Tennant was wearing a shirt, which I ordered.
I've seen the shirt. Okay.
And then
so Graham went after him.
And somebody was
like,
piece
of shit.
The unemployable TV guys going after beloved
whose wife left him in the midst of all of this.
After people thought she was the driving factor of it at the beginning too. Everybody was like, oh, she's a TERF. Like, and it rubbed off on him. And it's like, nope, this was totally separate.
Yeah. Well, she's got her own problems, but Yeah. Uh,
So
the nature of this show is so much more like what I think the podcast should be about, but it is like soul destroying watching this shit.
one thing we could do, we could try to recreate, we could try to find some infamous flop of a pilot season
Yeah.
where like every sitcom, none of them made it past a season. So that'd be interesting to do. This isn't like this. I feel like this one just, oh, it's like a knife in the belly. Like,
Yeah.
because we've been through this terrain before with like Free Spirit,
Yeah.
and like we know that this is a precarious era of television, a precarious network too.
Yeah. So, and I think mostly the problem with this show, besides all the problematic stuff, because that existed, that was
Yes.
all over television. So, like, we're looking at it through the lens of 2023, but put all that garbage aside, I still think it's bad writing.
Yep.
But it's also trying to wedge every single main character into every single episode. You by trying to do that, you just throw off, and that's why you have to wait till 3/4 through the episode to get to the plot.
Right. We didn't see Mimi Kennedy again after her first and only scene.
Yeah.
She's gone. Stan's in it a bunch. Ray, we don't know what Ray got his girl for their 1 week anniversary. We don't know if she saw him in that white convertible. The guys said was sucked, and Sandy's like, I would fuck you, Ray, if Joe drove or whatever. Like, we don't know anything.
We
Ray's
don't know
gone.
anything. Yeah.
He had a life for a scene, and then they put him on ice for another week.
Yeah. Like, and the kids, they suck, right?
Yeah.
But Scotty gets one line. They wedged one line and a sight gag for Scott. That's it. But they had to wedge that in because they thought that was going to be funny. So you're putting in all of these elements to try to give all of their characters a line, and at the disservice of the plot,
which is terrible anyway.
Yeah.
And so
So anyway,
ABC.
Yeah, let's look at the next episode of Joe's Life, shall we? I've got Toast of Tinseltown up here now. Joe's Life. Do, 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 do. Next episode of Joe's Life, we only have 7, 8, 9, and 10. 4 more episodes. Isn't that exciting?
Now that I've decided on Cop Rock, I don't know. Cop Rock next, folks. We'll see. We'll see how much energy I have left after this. For
the next episode is You Can't Take This Job ... period. The episode description. Oh God. Sandy Gennaro is offered a full-time job that will give her less time with the family. So, it'll be bad. There are some guest stars that I've never seen before. Shirley Prestia, Stacey Greason, Claire Berger, and David Dunnard. Never heard of any of them. No. But 4 guest stars. Great. Even less plot.
Office plot, maybe. Oh, I can't wait to see what the guest stars are, what their antics are like.
Yeah.
Okay.
But maybe it'll be a Sandy heavy episode, and maybe we will see her life outside of being Joe's hot to trot wife and exhausted mother.
So I'm not going to forecast what she's going to be happening in the episode, but I don't think that's if that's going to be a rewarding experience. But
fair enough.
Yeah. So Joe's Life.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Thanks.
Join us next time when we watch episode 7. You Can't Take This Job, period. Andrew, see you in Television Land.
See you in Television Land, Emily.